Today I'm going to be making something really special, and these are classic lemon squares with a shortbread crust. So for this recipe, we have two things here. We have ingredients for our crust, and we also have ingredients for the lemon topping. So let's go through the ingredients for the crust first. So for this recipe, I'm going to break it down into the two sections. We have ingredients for the crust, which are 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I have 1 cup of regular butter, that is salted butter, and also 3/4 of a cup of icing sugar. So those are the 3 ingredients that we're going to be using for the shortbread crust. And now for the lemon square filling. We need 4 eggs, 1 1/3 cups of white sugar, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 of a cup of fresh lemon juice, and 1/4 cup of milk. So those are all of the ingredients. I will break this down as we're going through it. So let's get started. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on our lemon square filling. So we're going to get our 4 eggs into our bowl. And 4. There we go. Let's whisk all of these up. And then we'll get all our sugar in there. You can use your mixer as well. I'm just using my whisk today. And then we'll get our flour in. And all of our salt. There we go. And at this point also you can get your oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, because we're going to be working on our shortbread crust for our lemon squares next. There we go. And then we'll get in all of our nice lemon juice. And our milk. There we go. And that's it for this part of the recipe. So you can just mix this up and put it to the side, because we're going to do our crust next. We're going to bake it, and then we're going to pour this lovely filling on top of our baked crust. There we go. Okay, so next step. So now we're going to make the crust for our lemon squares. So I'm going to get in all of my nice butter and our icing sugar, and I'm going to start creaming that together. So choose a nice sized bowl so that you have a lot of room to work with, because icing sugar can, puff up and you can get little dust clouds more easily than regular white sugar. Just use your mixer on the low speed just to get this, moving. There we go. And the warmer your butter is, the better off you'll be. So I'll just continue doing this until I start getting it creamed. So I'll be back in a minute or so. Alright, so this is about a minute later. You can see everything is really nicely creamed now. So what I'm going to start doing is adding in our flour. So I'm just going to put in about half. You can sift it, or you don't have to. It's up to you. I'm not sifting today, but you can. I'm going to slowly start incorporating the flour. And you can see this mixture looks a little bit dry, but don't worry about that, because when this hits the oven and the butter melts, it's going to come out very, very nice. You can see here, when I touch it, you see it's already coming together. And if I left this in my hand for a while, the butter would even start melting, and it would just start getting very, very soft. But you can see already how nice this mixture is. So let me just mix it a little bit more. And there we go. Perfect. So now I'm going to go get my pan, and we're going to line our pan with this beautiful shortbread mixture. Okay, so I have my 9 by 13 pan here, okay? And what I want to do now is I'm going to take all of my shortbread dough, I'm going to get it in here. And I'm going to spread it around. And then what you want to do is just take your hand, or you can use a spatula if you wish, and just push this all down. Try to get it even and really compact it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pop this into the fridge. If you want to go quicker, you can put it into the freezer and freeze it for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. If you don't have room in your freezer, just put it in the actual fridge for about an hour. Okay? So there we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop this into my freezer for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to pop it into the oven and we're going to bake it. So, into my freezer, and I'll see you in a little while. Alright, so I've had this chilling for quite some time now, and it's ready for the oven. So it's going into my 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. When you start seeing it, like it looks right around there, you know, between 15 and 20 minutes, as long as you see a little bit of golden brown starting to happen, bring it out of the oven, and then we'll come back. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, and I'll be back in a while. So 350 degrees. I'm going to pop my timer on for 15 minutes to start, and we'll check it out. Okay, so I'll be back in a bit. Alright, this has been in the oven for a total of 20 minutes. At 15 minutes I didn't smell the shortbread really at all, and around 18 minutes I did. I decided on 20 minutes. You can see it's slightly brown around the edges, which I want. This is still extremely hot right now. It just came out. What I want you to do now is take all of your filling and just give it a little whisk, just to make sure that everything is all mixed well, and then just take it and gently pour it right over the top. Okay, just like that. And I'll put a little note that as soon as you take this out, the first time that I just showed you here, we want to drop our temperature down to 325 degrees. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop this back in the oven 15 to 20 minutes at 325 degrees until it's set. So gently get it over to your oven and get it in there. There we go. And I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so here are my squares. I baked them for a total of 20 minutes, and now it is time to get them out of our baking dish. And you can see that with the parchment paper, this is going to make it a little bit easier. I want to get these out right now before they're actually cooled off. So I just want to go around just so that we have a nice clean break from our baking pan here. So that feels good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place them on another little cutting board. And I'm just going to lift, and then right like that. There we go. And you want to do this now, because if you wait for this to completely cool, what's going to happen is that you can actually snap the bottom and you might get cracking here. So you want to lift this out while it's still pretty hot. Okay? So there we go. So right now, what I'm going to do is I have to let this completely cool before we actually cut these into squares. So I'll be back a little later. What I will do is I'll let this cool down, and then I'll come back and we'll cut them up together. Okay, so our lemon squares have completely cooled down, and now I'm just going to cut them up. Got a nice crunch on the bottom because of that shortbread crust. Very, very nice. I'm not going to bore you with cutting everything up here, but I'll just cut up a few. That's a good size. There are no rules. You can cut this any size that you wish. I'm only going to cut up half of it here. There we go. And then I'll get a plate. And we'll just take the little lemon square out. And there we go. Look at that. I'll try to lift that up. Just so that we can see the bottom. So there we have it. So we have our beautiful lemon filling on the top and our shortbread crust on the bottom. Yum. Now there is one final little step which is totally optional, and I'll get to that in a second. I'm just going to get some icing sugar. Alright, I've got a little sieve here and a little bit of icing sugar, and I'm just going to get it on there and then just give it a little shake. And that's totally optional, but it looks great. And there we go. Beautiful. So these are my classic lemon squares with shortbread crust. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. That looks good. Oh, that is really good.